Welcome, everybody, to today's Building My Legacy podcast. I have with me today Dane Espegard. Dane is, first of all, congratulations on your book, The Dream Machine. I think there are so many people who would love to have dreams come back into their life. And so I want to spend some time talking about that. But just for the audience's background, Dane is with Vector Marketing. He's a division manager there, has been there for some time. He has brought his team to being the third largest revenue producer in his organization. And you know what's interesting about that is the product, or is that one product of what you sell as Cutco? And I'm sure many of you do know Cutco cutlery. My son began his career with Cutco, so it's near and dear to my heart. So with that, let's get started on what got you into thinking about the Dream Machine and what your goal was with that.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me. And I love hearing stories like that where somebody says their son or daughter or niece or nephew started with the company. But so the concept with dreams, I've had the pleasure of working with Vector and Cutco for the last 20 years and started as an 18-year-old with that company. And they have a great focus on personal growth. And so that was something that attracted me and retained me as a younger individual with the company. And I was at a sales convention with Cutco back in 2007 when they brought in a speaker named Matthew Kelly. And Matthew Kelly has written a bunch of different books. Rhythm of Life is one. And he came and spoke to us about dreams. And so I actually made a dreams list right at the conference with the speaker. And it really brought a lot of energy to me. I brought that back to my team. And that was my first kind of introduction into the concept of, maybe living life by design. And I went home and, like a lot of things from conferences, I kind of put it on the shelf and didn't do anything with it. And then years later, I had the opportunity to move again within the organization and kind of start a team from scratch. And so I was trying to get clear on the culture that I wanted, and I settled back on the dreams concept. And so I moved to Minnesota and had the opportunity to run a larger territory there. And so we kind of renamed our division the Dream Team, and we went all in with the concept of helping people accomplish their dreams.
So when you talk about a dream list, talk about that. What is a dream list?
Yeah, so you've probably heard the terminology bucket list before. I think that bucket list is great. I think that sometimes that brings up the feeling of like when I am of blank age or when my this era of my life is over, I will then do these things. And we all know somebody in our lives that they worked their entire life and saved and did all these things so that when they reached this age, they could then experience this great life. And then some tragedy happened and they never got that opportunity. And so the idea with the dreams list is, what are all of the things that would excite you throughout life, bring you some joy, maybe accomplish in the workplace, fitness? We have 9 categories. So we go from adventure, travel, material, family, relationships, faith, legacy, mental or physical and emotional health. And so we really try and cover all areas of what somebody's life can be. And then throughout that brainstorming process, we call it dreamstorming, but throughout that process, they build a massive list of all the things they'd like to do at some point throughout their life. So most people create about 100 to 200 on their list. I've got some individuals in my organization that have done this for the last 4 or 5 years, and they have over 1,000 dreams that are on their list. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah.
So when do they have time to work?
Well, what's really interesting with this is it's like once we took the focus off, what do you do for me here at work, and put the focus on valuing the individual and what they're experiencing in life, the results that they brought to work were totally different, heightened, larger, and they had so much more energy for what they were doing at work because it was shifting the whole concept of not live to work, but work to live. So now work became the vehicle for me to live the life of my dreams. So I better attack it. I better come in with a lot of energy. I better, be self-motivated in these things because I have all of these exciting things that I'm trying to accomplish in my personal life.
So what's fascinating to me about you said 9 categories about that you have people dream in. Cutco and Vector Marketing is also known for its very disciplined accountability in terms of meeting your sales goals.
Mhm.
So talk about how you balance that, because you've been able to keep that intense focus on goals while also allowing people to have a life. Because
Mhm.
I think what we struggle with is if it's an either or, you can't do
Yeah.
both.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And it's a similar question I get a lot of, like, well, what's the difference between a goal and a dream? And I think that, I've been helping people to set and achieve goals for the last 15 years of the 20 years I've been within that organization. And so often when we set a goal, we set it that we know it's within reach, right? Because we want to hit our goals. And so very rarely does somebody actually set a goal that's really a stretch goal, right? And I can remember the quote, I don't know who said it, but it's not about reaching the goal, it's about who we become in the process. And so what I like about the dreams aspect is it gives permission for people to be ungrounded. In other words, hey, don't think about normal restraints. Don't think about normal, because it's so easy for somebody to say, I can't do this or I can't do this. Well, in the normal structure of work, if I give you a sales number or you set your own sales number, what we're saying is that's the thing that matters. And what the dreams concept is doing is it's taking it one level further to say, what are the things you want to accomplish in your life? Okay, it's this. So therefore, you probably need to do this in sales in order to accomplish these personal things. So it's almost creating a larger anchor or why instead of just here's your job, go get it done.
So what you've basically done is you've shifted the focus from do it for the company to do it for you, because growing the company serves you, which is an interesting angle.
Yeah. And if you think, over the last couple of years, you've heard the terminology, the Great Resignation, right? And part of that is, people are being able to work differently and work from home and do the hybrid model. And so there's a lot of things that have gotten people to think differently of like, hey, is what I've been doing the last decade, is that really what I want to keep doing? And what one of the things that has come out throughout the surveys of employees through Gallup surveys and that type of stuff is that people want to be valued for who they are, not just what they do at work. And I think that this speaks to that, where it's, hey, we're valuing the individual and we want you to have the most exciting life possible. And this can be the vehicle for you to get there.
So as a director, as a manager, you have lots of people reporting to you. How do you help people achieve their dreams? Because it's one thing to make a list.
Mm-hmm.
When you do the brainstorming goal setting within an organization, you then chunk them down, prioritize them. You have sort of a unified goal that you're moving to. With your dream process, you could ostensibly end up with 9,000 different dreams, with each person having 1,000. That's 1,000 times, whatever. That's a lot of things to manage. So how do you do that? How do you develop that culture so it's effective?
So what I like about the dreams concept is it really puts the onus on the individual. And so it's not my responsibility for you to live the life of your dreams. What I take it upon myself, and this is kind of what the book is about, is to teach any business owner or team leader how to introduce the concept to the team. But what's great about this is that it builds organically. And so in my experience, every person, this is my belief, every person knows how to dream, right? I have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old daughter, and I was talking to my 5-year-old about this. And she said, so what do you do for work? And I said, I do a few different things. And we were talking about how I help people dream. And she said, how do you teach people how to dream? And I said, I don't teach them how to dream. I remind them of what they used to know. And what I think that when we go through life, we get to a stage where people just stop asking, what are your dreams? And then we get into the normal, well, now I have a job and I have a mortgage and we have all these obligations. And we just don't give ourselves the time or space to recognize, like, hey, what are the things that I used to want to do, or that would give me some excitement, or learning a new skill, or going on a trip, so really the process is me helping individuals to identify what their dreams are. And then what we do in that session is we call these dreams workshops, but what we'll do is we'll allow them the space to identify 5 to 10 that they think they could do in the next 3 to 6 months. And then they take some action. And so in that moment, they'll take action on at least one dream. So when they leave, well, I know they have something in the books that's scheduled, that they're going to get done. And when they do that, I always hear about it if they're on my team. Hey, I just was able to cross a dream off my list. And then we, it's called dream spotlighting, but we share that with the rest of the team. And then that's a really positive nudge to other people on the team. That's like, oh, congrats to Sally, but man, I got to go back to my list and see what are the things that I need to do. So it's more of a, invitation, not obligation.
Got it. So 3 to 6 months for your dreams. I'm trying to chunk that down in my mind, because you also gave an example: travel, language, development. Some of those are more than 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
Or if everybody decided to travel in those 3 to 6 months, you might be in trouble. So,
right.
So talk a little bit about how you navigate that.
So the concept with all of this is a quote that when there's hope in the future, there's power in the present. And so I'm sure you can think of a time, and listeners can think of a time that, it could be a trip, that the enjoyment of the trip wasn't just the trip. It was the anticipation of the trip. It was the planning of the trip. It was the, hey, what are we going to do when we get there? All of that brought value to the trip outside of just that 1 week vacation. And so when we're working towards something, whether it's I've got dance class, somebody on our, that I just did a workshop for, he's not on my team, but I do these workshops for other companies. And he just signed up for comedy classes. And he just did his first ever live mic, open mic thing. And so he, found me on social media and messaged me. He's like, thanks so much. And so what that does is, it doesn't need to be something that's massive. A lot of the dreams are smaller. They're just things that you've thought about doing and, hey, that'd be cool, but never taken action on. And so it's by doing those things, we're just experiencing different enjoyment in life. There's no longer this, again, one of my beliefs is there's no longer this, work life, home life, especially now that we're working remotely and everything else. The lines are completely blurred and erased. And so if I have a really vibrant, exciting personal life, it is impossible for me not to bring that energy to work. And so, this guy, his name's Hans, and he's all of a sudden taking these live mic classes. He's doing things he hasn't done. He's out of his comfort zone. He's getting affirmation of, hey, you're doing something that's great. He's going to show up differently in the workplace when he has an exciting home life as well.
Okay, so for the audience, would you walk through what a dream workshop or creating a dream process might look like?
Absolutely. So we go through a couple different sections. We usually will do this in teams. And so, I've got this weekend, I'm doing a workshop with a kind of a group of massage envies and lash studios. And so they have all their employees are going to be doing it. And so we'll take them through the 9 categories. But what we'll do is it's a lot of prompts. So when I do these, I'll thought jog with them hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dreams. And so I'll say, hey, we're going to go to the travel category. And then I'll just start, it's pretty silent with the group, but I'll start throwing out a whole bunch of different places and write down what seems interesting to you, write down who you'd want to go with. And so people are just writing. We'll do about 3 categories. And then we break up into small groups. A lot of times it's groups that they work with on a regular basis, and they get to choose which ones they want to share. This might seem weird, elementary, but what's great, what I've seen happen from this is the synergy in the group and the connections that are made, because they're sharing things that 20 minutes ago, they didn't even know it was something that they necessarily wanted to do because they haven't thought about it in a long time. So they start to share these things that allow them to connect on a deeper level than just like, hey, how was the weekend? How are the kids conversation? And so we take them through all 9 categories. And then there's some breaks built in, depending if it's on Zoom or in person. And then at the very end, that's where we give them the 30 to 45 minutes to identify, go through everything that's on your list and put a little mark by the ones that could be in the cards in the next 6 months. And then they start to research, how much would that cost? And then they figure out what's something that I could commit to doing right now. And I've had it where people sign up for a 5K race, right? They found one, they're like, I'm going to do that. Boom. Right. So now they're going to be working out a little bit for the next couple of months. I've had people book a flight. I've had people sign up for a guitar lesson, right? Or open mic night, like this guy Hans. And so there's just taking the action on something allows them to feel empowered as they leave these workshops.
That's absolutely amazing. What I love about what you're doing, Dane, is it's creating engagement sort of through the back door. Or you could call it the front door. It's the door that we don't tend to open.
Yeah.
out of fear, we don't open it. We're afraid that it's going to decrease productivity. So you're one of the top revenue producers. So talk about what the impact has been on the company. And obviously it's had some impact because they keep having you do it.
Yeah. So really the concept, I started it at my local team, and my local team's a 4-state area. And we started that in 2013. And so we've kind of evolved our workshops and stuff since then. And our team has grown to be the number one producing team using really this. And what I mean by this isn't I can't draw this as a line item to look, our sales grew because of the Dreams Workshop. But what I can point to is our retention. And we're in a high turnover field. And during COVID, we didn't lose anybody on our team, which was really unique within our industry to be able to say that all of our people stuck around. And I know that a lot of it had to do with the connections. We value the individual, not their production. We do value the production, but we value the individual first. And also during that time of COVID, we lived in the most uncertain times that we've ever had. But the people that were focused on their dreams, they still had certainty and control because they were still working towards the things that were on their list. And I think that's such an important distinction that, in today's world where so much we've kind of just been like thrust upon us. When somebody's working towards their own things, they're constantly feeling like they're in control. Well, hey, this changed, but I could go and do this now on my dreams list. And so I think that's been a really big key to why our organization's been growing. And now, over the course of the last year, since the book came out and whatnot, I've been doing this for a lot of the teams within our company, but also a lot of organizations outside of.
What's so interesting is it's so congruent with what Viktor Frankl talks about, Csikszentmihalyi talks about in terms of happiness. Also, some of the research that's talking about longevity, because it's all about connections. So you're creating connections that are really important for health, for happiness, and for money, basically.
And what I like about it too is that it allows, like, we have a category for finances and career. And so we're really covering all of it. And I can tell you firsthand, going through the category of career, I have to be open, leading my own team members through, hey, what are your dream careers? Assuming it's not with me, right? So there has to be this abundance mentality of anything is possible. And what I've said before is, I think I used to manage out of fear of like, well, I don't want to lose this person. Well, I would rather have a really engaged, on fire person for 1 year than somebody who's asleep at the wheel for 3. And what I have found is that when people are, emboldened and engaged with through this, they actually tend to stay longer, because they recognize this is something I don't know if I'm going to get, at the next company that I go to, right?
So talk a little bit about, if you are an organization and you're listening to this and you go, oh, wow, I would love to implement. What are some of the steps that you need to go through to implement this kind of a culture? It's a huge shift. It's a mindset shift in most cultures.
Yeah, I think it's number one, the leader of the organization has to be willing to play full out. This is just like any culture. It's got to be top down. And for me, when I made the commitment to say, this is going to be something that's in the DNA of my organization, and it's important to me, I had to agree to say, okay, so that means that I'm going to live this concept out loud. And so at that time in 2013, my girlfriend and I made our lists. We planned our year around it. And then every time we crossed something off on our list, I had to talk about it publicly to my team. They didn't feel great at first, because there's a certain element of, am I boasting? And also, as the leader of an organization, sometimes you don't want to talk about that, because maybe as the leader, you have a little bit more autonomy, flexibility, a little more income. And so does that feel right? But what I found that by me doing that, what it did is it attracted more people to that whole concept. Right. And it also, they supported when I said, hey, I'm going on. The first year we did this, my wife and I, she's now my wife, but at that time, girlfriend, we went on a really great trip to Southeast Asia. And my team was so excited about me leaving because it was a dream trip, right? And it was something that was on our list and we talked publicly about. So I think the first thing is the leader of the organization needs to be willing to embody the concept. The second thing is just read the book. The purpose of the book wasn't to be hey, here's a little bit of what we do, and then you have to hire me for the rest. The purpose of the book was anybody who reads it should be able to say, I can run my own workshop for my own team. And so I didn't hold anything back. It's all in the book. And in fact, for your listeners as well, I'm doing a free gift for anybody that goes to the website. They can actually download a PDF of the book for free. And so it's just on my website at daneespegard.com/free gift. And they can just get it right there. And I made that commitment over the last couple of months to just say, from running these workshops, I know how powerful they are for individuals. And I just, I want as many organizations as possible to be able to experience that. So there's a lot of information on the website.
What a gift. Thank you so much. And we'll make sure we put that information in the show notes so people have that. So thank you for that gift. So what are some of the dangers? What will be the challenges that companies will have when they try to implement something like this?
I think the one that I have seen with it is if somebody tries to make the dreaming some sort of obligation of like, you have to go and accomplish a dream. It's like the whole concept of dreaming is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be abundant, and it should be, I want to opt into this. And so if there is a requirement of like, hey, you have to get a dream done this quarter, what is it? It's like that takes the true nature of this out. And the flip side, when it is not that, what you'll notice is that people will start to pick up steam. I've run these for my organization for a while, and then we started to incorporate spouses. And I was a little nervous about that because I'm like, they don't speak our language necessarily. They're not really into our culture. We'll see how this goes. And the first time I did it just with our leadership team, about 7 people and their spouses. And there's one husband of somebody on our team. His name is Chris. And he was super reserved at first. By the end of this thing, he was loving it. His first year, he accomplished 6 dreams on his list.
Oh, wow.
And the next year, he accomplished about 15 dreams on his list. And so, I look at that as an example of nobody was talking to him about the dreams after that event because he wasn't part of our organization. But he and his wife were talking about it, and they were setting things in their calendar. And because of that, they still have their dreams list today.
What do you do? Do you come across people who don't have dreams? And what do you do with that?
I think dreaming's like a muscle. So I think that we all have it. I think that we all have it within. It just might be a case of you haven't exercised it in a really long time. And so when I run the workshops, I can tell there are certain people that it's much more difficult for. Usually during the workshop, they're just a slower mover, but they still get stuff down. What I also find is that because of the amount of categories that we have, I've had a lot of people that will say, oh, I've done these before, or it's just another goal setting workshop. But once we get into the meat of it, it really ends up being different for them because we're actually talking about dreams of family. For instance, like, hey, who are the relationships that you want to strengthen, right? Which relationships? Who do you want to see more of? Who do you need to forgive? Right? Like questions like that's not a goal setting workshop. And so I think that even if somebody's not a dreamer, they sometimes get confused with the word dream, but we're really talking about how do we just live life intentionally and how do we get more out of our time here?
That's remarkable. Absolutely remarkable. So share with me some of the highlights that you've experienced from doing these workshops. And then I also want to talk about what does a workshop look like? How long do you schedule for one of these team dream workshops? And do you do a follow-up?
Yeah. So highlights, everyone is very different in what I've loved. So mine are great. I've been doing those for a long time and I know my team. What I've really enjoyed is doing them for other organizations because I walk in not knowing anything about their organization and I get to feel kind of like who they are pretty quickly. But they're a ton of fun. And it's really neat to see people kind of come into their own and be their authentic selves during this because, maybe they are, they're HR at the company, but then when it's here, they're talking about all these personal things that they want to do and this enjoyment and they're super athletic and, maybe it's a family one, like everybody kind of connects to different categories. So it's really neat to hear those. I did one in Reno, Nevada in December for this mortgage company, Guild Mortgage, their local team out there. And their team was fantastic. They had about 75 people in the room. There was tons of laughing and energy in the room. And one individual said, hey, I was talking about sports. And he said, what if on my dreams list is to see the Bengals win the Super Bowl? And I said, oh, the Bengals, you probably just want to say like, go to a Super Bowl, but leave the Bengals out of it. We were joking and having some fun. Well, fast forward, the Bengals made the Super Bowl. He found me online, sent me an email, and he's like, I can't believe this. He's like, I'm not going, but there's so many fun interactions with those, with individuals at those events too, because we're not talking about work, right? We're talking about them as an individual, and we're also not talking about what they haven't done in their life. We're talking about anything is possible. What's fun? What do you want to go accomplish?
You're looking at the future.
Yeah.
Right? And we get so stuck in the past often.
Yeah. The workshops, in terms of what they look like, we customize them a little differently. For my personal ones, like for my team, we'll always do an overnight offsite type of deal. And so we'll bring the first day, we'll usually do the actual dreamstorming and sharing session from like 3 to 6. And then we'll break for dinner, socialization, that kind of stuff that evening. And then we start back up the next morning. So we try and have it be a really relaxed setting. And then the next morning is when we do the planning. And there's a lot of cool conversation that comes from the sharing and stealing. We call it dream stealing. So people will share, and then when you hear great ones, you just jot them down on your list as well. So people are growing their lists that entire first day, and then we do a lot of the planning the next day. When I've been doing them for other companies, I've been doing typically about 3 to 4 hour time blocks, and I do them on Zoom or in person. So the one I'm doing this weekend, their team is kind of spread out. And so it's a Zoom 3-hour session, and with breakout rooms and stuff on Zoom, it makes it, as good in person because we're able to still get those same connections.
It is just amazing. And I think in this day and age where people are so concerned about, what's next, you give such hope, it's so uplifting. It shifts sort of the narrative that we're hearing all the time. So I appreciate this so much. Our time is almost up, Dane. What have we missed that should be talked about?
I don't know if anything has really been missed. I'd say, I guess the value that I've personally experienced with the dream stuff is it strengthens somebody's purpose overall. I'm a firm believer in that we're all work in progress, and not only that we're all work in progress, but that progress is happiness. And so if I can, for myself, constantly be seeing myself achieving different things or experiencing different things, it gives purpose to everything that I do in my day-to-day. I show up with energy to work because I know that there's purpose behind it. And it's not so I can make more money. It's not, so that I can get that promotion. If it has anything to do with promotion or money, they're connected to other things on my dreams list or my wife's dreams list that we're working towards. And we get together every year. And this is something that we talk about in the workshops as well. It's not, we help people make their list, and then we talk about how do you do this with your spouse. And my wife and I, every single year, at the end of the year, we'll do a little year-end review, and we'll look at what dreams we got done, and then we plan our dreams for the next year. And so we know going into the next year, this is going to be the best year of our lives. And when COVID happened in 2020, at the end of that year, we were like, this is the best year that we've ever had. And what was great about that is didn't matter what was happening in the world. We were in control of what we were doing and how we were living life. We had to adapt, obviously, with COVID, but we were able to shift and do different things on our dreams list, which we were really excited about.
So do you do a dream list with your entire family as well, with your children?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we with our kids, we'll do it basically about once a quarter. We'll get our books out, our dream journals, and we'll start writing things down in there. My kids are 5 and 3 though, so it's still evolving. My 5-year-old is starting to get a few more things down in her list. She basically wants to own every animal, right, that exists and doesn't exist. And then my 3-year-old basically just copies everything that my 5-year-old has done. So, but yes, I'm also in an organization called Front Row Dads, which is a great group. And the focus of that group is how to become a better father. And we talk about the dreams concept quite a bit there with bringing your whole family in.
What a contribution. You also do a lot of work with Deco. Talk a little bit about that, because that's an area where I think we can shape so much of what's coming next in the workplace. So talk a little bit about your Deco work.
Yeah, so our organization is one of the national sponsors of the Deco organization, and so it's for those of you that don't know, it's basically a high school organization for marketing and entrepreneurship and business, and so each Deco organization kind of operates independently. But what we'll do locally is we'll go in and work with some of the local Deco departments, whether it's giving a little course on sales or in Minnesota, we'll go and judge some of the state DECA competition. They always need more judges. So we'll go in, send some people and do some of the judging for that. And it's really neat to see, some of the campaigns and the things that the students bring up. But that's how we get involved. And on a national level, we get involved with their national event as well in terms of Cutco Corporate.
Perfect. So I appreciate so much your input, your comments, your thoughts, Dane, because my goodness, we need this positive perspective right now. I also appreciate what you're doing with dads, because you look at some of the things we're struggling with healing within families, our communities. Over and over again, the research is showing we've got to get dads involved.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. And I appreciate the role that Cutco had in our life with our family. So thank you for that.
Yes, absolutely.
So for those of you who are listening to this podcast, be sure to visit Dane's website, if you would repeat that, where they could go to download the book.
Yeah, so it's Dane Espegard. So I'll spell it D-A-N-E, last name E-S-P-E-G-A-R-D. And then it's .com/free gift. So you might be able to find it without doing the free gift, but if you just do /free gift, you can go, it'll take you right to where you can download the book.
So what an opportunity. Download it, take this concept to your workplace and put some positivity into the struggles that people are dealing with today. Dane, thank you so much for being with us on Building My Legacy podcast today.
It's been my pleasure.
And for those of you who are listening to Building My Legacy podcast, thank you for being with us. Be sure to visit our website at www.buildtomorrow.com with the number 2. So thanks much. Thank you for watching my video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell button above. Leave comments. We'd love to hear what you think. And visit our other social media links as well. Thanks much.